Paralydium have only released an EP. Came out in 2015, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 2015. Consisted of 3 tracks. Lasted around 23 minutes. Therefore, these 3 tracks were pretty hefty with a lot going on. Amazingly long intros with soaring leads and musical elements from the musicians constantly shifting, changing riffs. Amazing strong vocals, long solos from guitar and keyboard. Just amazing work, which gave you really long songs. It was the first thing they did, and I couldn't see a flaw. The solos were fantastic, the vocals fantastic, the progression, the melodies fantastic, the intro's fantastic, not just bland, typical, boring ass, plain sounding chord progression intro with chord progression riff in the verse. A more open sounding chorus, repeat the same verse, repeat the chorus, have a solo and be done. There was so much going on with amazing melodies and everything. Now, it took them this long to make an album, the year 2020, and from what they've been saying, they've been trying to write this album the whole time. The album is going to be around 40 minutes, and it's a progressive metal band. That is absolutely pathetic. But then again, the songs may speak for themselves and it may be good enough. Short but sweet, something I definitely need to become more accustomed to. And they have released... How many tracks have they released? I think they've released 3 tracks off the new album so far. This being the 3rd track and final track that they release until the album drops next month, because it was pushed back due to certain circumstances of the time, being the coronavirus. Now, the first track that released, they were spouting that it had like 5 bloody solos in it. It had a drum solo, a bass solo, 3 keyboard solos, 2 guitar solos. Wow, the solos! And I was thinking, God, wow, so many solos. How long is this song going to be to really show off all these solos? The song is only around maybe 5 minutes, if not even less than that, as the solos are just ran through quickly. Here's the drum, cut off. Here's a bass, cut it off. Here's the guitar, cut it off. Therefore, at the end of all 5 solos, it kind of seemed like it consisted of just one solo, but they've gone through 5 different solos with multiple instruments in. But the length kind of consists of one solid solo. So therefore, I was like, they're really trying to show off, but it seemed that the song is in a time restraint for some reason. It was very weird. The vocalist lacked melody in the verse, going with something a bit more kind of guttural sounding, which didn't really suit his voice until it came to the pre-chorus and chorus, where his voice really opened up. It had beauty and melody and grace to it. And then the intro had no distinct kind of interesting lead or anything. It was just aggressive with a typical tone that you can hear from certain bands without having any kind of uniqueness to their tone. The second song, which is the first track on the album, Sphere Something, was a fair bit better. It had a bit more melody to it. It had 2 solos, 1 guitar, 1 key, I believe, and the solo actually lasted long. It was a good length solo, and I was like, yes, this is a great solo which is actually getting across what it is trying to achieve and say, instead of it being completely shut off and trying to be achieved in just a mere 2 seconds. Again, kind of bare-bone basic, not really having a humongous focus on melody, and a short song again. So Crystal of Infinity, one of the later tracks in the album, which focuses a bit more on melody from what I've heard in the clips of the whole album. So Crystal Infinity, 4 minutes 23 seconds. Again, not bloody long. It has a solo in it. I'll get to that. And it is the most melodic song that they released so far. And that is probably more in line with what I got from the EP of Paralydium, the thing I've been longing for, because they seem to have kind of lost that special thing and gone a bit more kind of, well, it's a good vocalist, there are some good solos, there's a decent tone, but other than that, there's nothing really unique. It doesn't have the amazing abilities in the intro with all the showmanship from the guitars and the melodies and the leads and the soaring leads and absolutely amazing progression and a song that really goes to different places. Now it's just a typical sounding song, but all the individual pieces are pretty damn good. Other than that, there's nothing special which the EP really had going for it. So this is more in line of that because the song is a melody. So how have they done this? Well, it starts off with piano. I really like piano. It is a beautiful sounding instrument and really connects with the heart and everything. So it sounds great. There's some kind of synths going on, so it does kind of sound kind of dance clubby. And it's really interesting. It's like this is really sounding different and interesting. And then when the band comes in, how is it going to sound? The synths disappear, the piano disappears, the tone of the instruments is the basic bog standard tone, and it's the good old chord progression intro. It's crap. It's like you've set up something which is like really melodic and musical and sounds very pleasant, and then you kill it with just a bare bone, dry sounding chord progression. I don't understand when on your EP, when you had something like this, because you did have introductions like that, and then it went into these beautiful melodies, and when it went to riffs, there were so many different riffs instead of just, here's the one riff, here's the singer coming in. I don't get their thinking, and this has took them 5 bloody years. I don't know what the hell's happening here. Anyway, because it is melodic, it means that when the vocalist actually comes in, the guitar's cut out completely and it goes to just basically drum and bass. Now, I don't mind this to a certain extent because the bass is usually drowned out by guitar, so it definitely gives me a good focal point to appreciate what the bass is doing. And it's quite nice. It definitely is blank because it doesn't have that kind of synth that can play through it to give it a nice melody to it. It doesn't have, a piano or keys. Keys would seriously help this out because it would just keep this light melody throughout instead of it just being drum, which is very dry and very, like you hit a drum, it's not a warm thing that kind of fills the soundscape. It's very dry and direct. Same with a bass, it's just this thick sound. There's not really a lot of warmth and melody to it. So keys or synths or something really would help lighten this up. The vocalist is obviously lighter here in his vocal performance because of what is going on, which is definitely the better fit for him. Later on in this verse, the guitar does come in and it does kind of heighten it up a little bit. And then the chorus, it's open, which is typical, it's catchy, it's memorable. It works, but there's nothing special about it. Going back into the verse, it's kind of the same. The second portion, they changed things up by using some kind of different riffs and things, which is a bit interesting, but then that is basically it. And you have basically got your song done and dusted right there. There's nothing special. There's no further progression to the song. There's no soaring leads or swooping anything. It's just standard. And then we get a solo. Now, as I said, this is very melodic and very pleasant sounding, especially when the keys do kind of come in and give it that lifting, very nice tone to it. So what is the keyboard and guitar going to do? Well, there is actually no key solo in this, unfortunately, which is very disappointing because it would rather fit in with the tone of the song. So what is the guitarist going to do? Well, it starts off mid-tempo, it's got a nice melody to it. It's not melodic, it's not really that technical, it's just got a nice melody to it. And it lasts for 10 solid seconds. I seriously am lost for words. I don't understand what the hell this band is up to. You had an E-friggin-P that had soaring leads, great musical ability. It was so musical and uplifting with such amazing melody. And now this is just bone dry, basic, like anything. The only reason why this is kind of decent is basically because the vocalist is good and the solos are kind of there, and it does have some elements, a nice tone to it. But other than that, there is nothing unique about this. There's nothing special anymore. I don't know what the hell they've done, and it seriously, the whole thing feels like there's a time constraint, and I don't know why there is. It's a progressive metal band. The EP was 3 bloody tracks, and that did 22 bloody minutes. This is 9 tracks or something, and it's 40 minutes. I don't get it. The tracks are barely escaping the 4 minutes thing, and the songs always seem that it's just like, we just need the intro, and we just need the version of the chorus, and then just repeat it, and then do a really quick solo, and just keep moving on. Everything seems like a race. Nothing is taking its time. Nothing sounds open. Everything is just moving so quickly and so fast, and nothing is open, which means everything is constricted and basic and bare bone. And that is it. It's just a nice melody solo, which definitely sounds nice, and it has a great tone to it. And I really want to see where it could have gone. If with like 30 seconds, if not go for a whole minute. Seriously, a minute would be brilliant, but no, it's 10 friggin' seconds. It is so bad. It's progressive metal. How is 10 seconds of a solo anywhere close to progressive metal? Progressive metal, you're supposed to have really big, long not technical, but big, long solos and big, wide open songs that have so many layers to it. This is so bare that I don't see how the hell this is progressive. Anyway, at the end of the day, the vocalist, he sounds great throughout. The keys, when they're there, they are really nice. I do like how it has an emphasis on bass on the first part of the verse, even though I would have appreciated keys being there as well. And then I like the growth when the guitars come in, just that little elevation to the sound and everything. That's rather nice. I do like that the second verse, there is that slight change by basically just changing the riff, and that is it. But I definitely want some kind of differences and some like new things. So even though it's very slight, it is extremely appreciated because at least there's something. And still the solo that is there, the whole thing is good. It's basically the fact that I'm just missing a huge chunk of it, and that's the only problem. The solo that's there is great, but it's just been cut off. Like, he's not really that good, and the guy can't think of anything, which I call rubbish to. That is utter rubbish. So, I give this, like, compared to the other tracks, which I forgot what I've given them, I may have given one of the other 2 previous tracks a higher score than this. I think Secret of the Sphere, I think that's the track, the second track that they've released, first track being on the album, is probably better than the 2 that they've released. This is kind of good, but the worst for the solo, so it is kind of mixed with that track. I like this song, but the solo is so bad and it's so bland, and then Finding the Paragon is so kind of standard sounding to other bands, but then solos are kind of good and decent, and there is, variety to them, even though they're all extraordinarily short. Secret of the Sphere is still very basic, but then has a very good solo, and still has them good melodies where Paralydium shines. And then this, it goes soft, but they don't utilize the melodic parts to really come up with something really beautiful at all. And then they really damper the solo, so I would probably give this a 7. It's good. It's not great. It just isn't. It's just, yeah, it's a good song. It doesn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't really do anything great. And God, do I hate saying that, because this band, they are so talented, and I am seriously disappointed at this point. Really disappointed. And when I was so looking forward to this album, before it was even said that it was coming, I knew it was coming at some point, and I've been so excited. And I'm bloody terrified at this point. I'm really worried that this album is going to basically be like, yeah, that was pretty good, and then I'm just not going to listen to it again. Just a few spins, and that's it.
It's a throwaway. As for when this was coming up, I was gonna think of it as maybe an album of the year contender. I didn't have any worries because I trusted them so much because the EP was so bloody brilliant. It's really disappointing, guys. And 2 of the tracks are just bloody interlude rubbish. And we've heard 3 tracks. There's not many left. I don't see how they can really fix this. I really don't. So this is the last single. So the next time you're going to hear from me for Paralydium is going to be the album review. I'll see you guys in that video. Bye.